Today I have just one simple question for you. Where are you looking? Because where you're looking will direct the path of your life. Where you are looking will direct your emotions. You see, where we look has so much impact on so many different things that we are trying to control and we just can't. But we can control where we look. A long time ago in a land very far away, Moses sent out 12 spies. You see, they had come to the promised land, to the land they had been dreaming of, to the land that was flowing with milk and honey. And then no one really knew what that meant. And Moses told 12 guys to go out into the promised land and to check it out. And they went out for 40 days. They went out for 40 days. And when they came back, everyone had tons to say. But 10 of the spies gave a discouraging message. They talked about how good the land was and how good the food was and how beautiful everything was. But then they said, there are giants in the land. Their cities are massive. The walls are huge. And we look like grasshoppers. We look like grasshoppers to them and to ourselves. You see, these 12 men, when they went into the promised land, they were looking at the giants. They were looking down at themselves, and they came back afraid. They came back with no faith in God. They came back completely forgetting everything that God had done for them in the wilderness. But two guys, Joshua and Caleb, the only two guys that we actually remember, they came back saying, it is good and we can take it. Our God can surely give us the giants. Our God can surely defeat this whole army. We can do this. And they were ready to go in. They were ready to do amazingly great things. They were ready to do amazing things because they were looking up. And because they made the choice to look up, not at the giants, but past the giants at their God, they were filled with faith and courage. They were filled with a can-do attitude. They didn't have to have like a little motivational chant set. They didn't have to go listen to some encouraging tapes. They didn't have to look at each other and say, well, I guess we can do this. Come on, and work themselves up. They just knew they could do it because of where they were looking. So my first question was an easy question. Where are you looking? I got an even easier question for you this morning. How are you feeling? Many times the way we're feeling, overwhelmed, stressed, depressed, feeling like life is just too much and it's just drowning us, feeling confident, feeling happy, feeling, our emotions many times come from what we are looking at. And it's okay to feel bad. In fact, it's human. It's okay to feel angry. In fact, it's human. It's okay to feel stressed sometimes. But it's not okay to feel that way all the time. And if you're going through a season of darkness right now, ask yourself a really hard question. Where am I looking? Are you looking at your past? With all those sins and mistakes, all those failures, is that what you're looking at? Are you looking at the future? With all the unknowns and what ifs and how could I ever? Are you looking at the world right now? With the economy and the quarantine and the president and the news and is that what you're looking at? Or are you looking at yourself with your addictions and your weaknesses? Not the you that everyone else sees on Instagram, the beautiful you, the cool you, the traveler you. No, the you that you see when you look in the mirror and you go, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? You see, whether you're looking at your past or your future or yourself, doesn't matter what else you're doing in your life, you're not gonna feel the way you're supposed to feel. You're not gonna think the way you're supposed to think because we can choose where we look, but we can't choose the consequences of where we look. Those just naturally flow. But if you look at God, If you look up and if you say God's got this, if you talk about how big God is, if you talk about the mighty things God has done in your past, if you talk about the mighty things God will do in your future, if you talk about the mighty things God is going to do in your life, if you remember that God said, I have a plan for you, plan to prosper you. Remember, God said, and I just heard this in a sermon, it's amazing. God said, I have a plan. He didn't say, I told you the plan. He didn't say, come look at the plan. He said, I've got the plan. Will you trust in me? You see, the Israelites came up to a rock and they were thirsty and they started complaining and whining, saying, we don't have anything to drink here. This is crazy. God, what's your problem? And they got so angry and stressed and afraid. And then God made water flow out of a rock in the middle of the desert. You see, everyone was stressing out. And Moses turned to God and said, what do we do? I don't know. What's the plan? And God said, here, take this stick and hit that rock. So what are you facing today? Did you just hit a rock and you need some water? Are you looking at a giant and all you got is a piece of leather and a couple of stones? Are you like Joshua and you ran up against Jericho with these walls that stretch up to the sky and all you've got is a bunch of guys that have been walking around in the desert for 40 years? That's fine. Because no matter how big your giant is, God is bigger. No matter how bad your problems are, He is bigger than those problems. Now, maybe you'll be lucky and you'll look at God and things will just turn around, boom, in a couple of seconds, in a couple of minutes, and you'll just start feeling good. Or maybe this is a season of darkness for you. This is a season of growth for you. Growth hurts. Growth is never usually fun. When you come out on the other end, you're way better. So here's how you get through the growth time, the hard time, the tough times. Speak out loud about what you're looking at. Choose to look at God. You don't have to know Bible verses. I mean, if you do, that's great. Open the book of Psalms and read Psalms out loud. Or just talk about Bible stories you know. God, you were big enough that you helped David kill Goliath. You guided that stone. You gave him the courage. You put him up there. You gave him the power to run towards that giant. He didn't even have a sword, so you gave him his enemy's sword to finish the job. You are so generous. You are so creative. You are so good. I mean, you don't have to be a Bible scholar. Look at any of the Bible stories you know and just talk about what God did in that story. Talk about who God is in that story. And that will give you courage. That will give you peace. That will give you enough power to take that next step. You see the book of Revelation, right in the middle of it, John says, this calls for the patient endurance of the saints. John, why didn't you say, this calls for good times and relaxation of the saints? No, he said patient endurance. So if you're a saint out there, if you're a child of God out there, then listen to this. You've got to endure. And the hardest way to endure is to look at how long the road is. The hardest way to endure is start saying, I'm not strong enough. I can't do this. Why is my life so hard? Why are all these terrible things keep happening to me, God? Where is God? Why is this? That is so big. I'm so awful. I mean, you know the negative junk that comes out of your mouth. You know it. I know it. Those are all lies. Satan fills your mouth with lies. He fills your mind with lies because he knows if you can look at the wrong thing, he's got you. So today, look up. Today, speak out. Don't worry about witnessing to other people around you today. Just witness to yourself. Talk about how good God is to yourself. Be like those two spies who came back and said, yeah, there's a quarantine out there. Yeah, the economy's crap. Yeah, my job is messed up. Yeah, I'm sick. Yeah, my house isn't the way. Yeah, all these problems. But my God can totally handle every single one of them. Let's go. Let's move forward. Let's look up. Because, friend, God's got this.